Oops.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to Mike and Dave's Multiverse. This is Thursday, February the 6th. Who knows what episode it is? What's
I
up,
think
Dave?
I think it's 16. I think we're on lucky number 16. For those of you who might not know, Mike and I barely made it to the show today. Just kidding. But yeah, show number 16. We've so far done this. Is it 16 straight weeks or 16 out of 18?
No, we took the holidays off. We took a little appropriate rest time around then.
Yeah, there was the one you had to solo when I had to go to the hospital that time too. Good looking out, Mike. I'll do that for you. If you ever got an emergency, I'm here. I'll do the show. I got you covered, buddy.
Word.
Yes, sir. We got a nice little show planned for you today. A few things, few new things going on. We wanted to just start by saying I guess we got 3 people in the audience so far, so that's pretty cool.
Welcome to the multiverse. We respect you no matter what universe you're tuning in from.
Yes, and we are a bipartisan, everything platform here, and so whatever universe you are from, you are welcome.
With a no-holds-barred, scorched earth approach towards finding the truth and bringing people together.
Yes, and we've got some exciting stuff coming up. I don't want to share too much, but Mike and Dave's Multiverse is making moves, and we got a bunch of fun guests coming up. But let's talk about today. First things first, though, please like and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't already. It's on YouTube specifically. That really goes far. But if you want to follow us on Rumble, Spotify, Facebook, X, and we are live on Instagram right now as well. So we're live on, I think, 5 or 6 platforms. You can follow us on. Oh, and we're now on TikTok. Yeah, I forgot to mention.
Here's some big news this week. Guess what platform? We might have slightly talked trash about this platform in the past, but hey, we're here to get clicks, and so guess what? We're on TikTok now.
Yeah, we didn't want it. We really kept complaining about it, but our producer Brittany dragged us kicking and screaming, and she dropped her first couple of tweet. How many we got, Brittany? We got at least one going.
2 ticks and a talk, I think.
We got 2 ticks and a talk. We got 3 total videos. That's cool. So check us out at Mike and Dave's Multiverse on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, X, Rumble, Spotify, and YouTube.
Actually, we got a fancy link. We got like a link tree now, and that little buy me a coffee website where you can make donations to the multiverse.
Yeah, donations are welcome to the multiverse. They're going towards buying us a drone. We really want to bring you guys more content and better content. We are planning a road trip in March with Tyrone from Rebirth of the Word. It's a 5-day trip. We're going to be visiting 6 ancient sites in the Midwest and here in the Southeast. And we're not going to have a drone by then, but before our next road trip, we might. Actually, Tyrone might have a drone.
I wouldn't rule it. That's over a month out, so I wouldn't rule anything out at this point.
Tyrone might have a drone by then. Anybody else? Where are you guys from? We got 8 people watching, I think. Where are you guys from? I wanted to open today before we get into Mike and I's presentation with a little surprise. So we had the distinguished pleasure of interviewing Mr. R.N. Voigt. I'm going to share screen real quick so you guys can see that handsome bastard's face. Mr. R.N. Voigt had the distinguished honor of being the author of the month, featured on the one and only Mr. Graham Hancock's website. And we had the distinguished honor of interviewing him for our Humans of the Multiverse series on Tuesday. So you guys can look forward to that coming out. But unboxing time, we got a little present in the mail all the way from the UK, addressed to Mike and Dave's Multiverse. And it's from Mr. R.N. Voigt. So let's open this bad boy up. What do you think it is?
This is a live unboxing. People on YouTube go wild about these unboxing videos. Speaking of,
They do.
there's
They
a cool
do.
channel called Baseball Cards Before Work, where Dave's brother unboxes baseball cards, comic books, and the like in his car before work. Cool, very cool channel.
Yeah, like and
Holding up.
subscribe to him. Lots of good stuff going on there. He also auctions comics. I don't know if he auctions baseball, but he auctions comics on an auction site. Kenny, if you're watching, let me know what auction site that is. But let's see what we got. So we opened it up, and boom, we got 3 books. Wow, cool. So we've got Searching for Osiris, The Tree of Life by Mr. R.N. Voigt. Badass. Let's see. And he signed it for Dave, Spirited Wishes, R.N. Voigt. We've got the movie or the book Deities, Myth, and Tryptamines by Mr. R.N. Voigt, not for sale. I'm betting this one's for Mike. Yep, for Mike, Spirited Wishes, R.N. Voigt. He seemed to have gotten that correct somehow.
Thanks, Rick. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, we do. And there's actually one more. Who could that be for? And this is his book he's most famous for, The Spirit in the Sky, Ancient Cosmological Gods, and Where in the World We Find Them. And for Brittany, Spirited Wishes, Mr. R.N. Voigt. So yay, thank you so much, R.N. Voigt. Guys, he's the real deal. He's an excellent researcher, an excellent speaker, an all-around great guy. We're happy to have him as part of the Multiverse, and we're looking forward to having him back on the show. But man, that's exciting. He also gave us these bookmarks to go with it. There's 3 of them. So yeah,
super cool.
Pretty badass. What do you think?
That was awesome.
I thought so. I saved it as a surprise, so nobody knew about it. I almost did an unboxing video, like an actual unboxing video, and then I was like, no, I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it for the live show.
I like the excitement. I had no idea what the surprise would be. Dave told me there would be a surprise before the show, and as soon as he started talking about it, I remembered. I was like, oh yeah, we might have been expecting a little package. How great!
Yeah. Yep. Pat Breeze said, make sure to check out Cahokia Mounds. We are going to Cahokia Mounds. We're going to Monk's Mound. We're going to the Emerald Mound, I believe it's called. We're also going to Pinson Mound in Tennessee. Serpent Mound is the big one in Ohio. There's two smaller sites there. I don't remember what their names are off the top of my head. We're hearing we got some big lag from Ricardo. I wonder if anyone else is experiencing a big lag.
I blame my internet service provider. They've been obviously spending more money on advertisements they put in my mailbox to upgrade my internet than just making the internet faster. Why don't they just make it faster instead of mailing me advertisements?
Yeah, really. I'm sitting right next to my router, so that's why I feel like I'm not blaming myself. But we do got Ricardo here from Portugal, our good buddy from the channel History, Myths, and Legends, also from the Institute of Natural Philosophy. Is it? Yeah, of Natural Philosophy. And we're excited for things going on in the future for them too. What do you think, Mike?
Think, Dave? Time for a segment?
Yeah, time for a segment.
Well, I know each week I normally do weather, sort of solar weather, global weather. This week I had a presentation made up. I'm going to go ahead and swap to it. It's not exactly about the weather today, but it's about the atmosphere and the global climate in general. So let's swap here. All right, cool. We're still on the bottom. This is actually the first time I've ever run slides natively in Restream. So let's look through. We live on a planet that's it's about 3 rocks away from the sun. You know, the sun is this bright star giving us energy, and the Earth is one of these planets. It's known as an ocean world because unlike Mars or the Moon, we've got water covering the surface. Large, almost over 70% of the surface of Earth is covered in water. The rest of it's covered in land. We organize that in continents, and on the surface of this water and land is where we find all the life on Earth, especially at the end.
Yeah, maybe there's some life we don't even know about, not on the surface. Maybe there's some in the water. Maybe they're advanced.
Could be.
Maybe they have UAPs.
And this probably would have been more appropriate for like the first couple of weeks, but I didn't happen to make these slides until yesterday and today. So, what better time to go over just the basics about the Earth?
Well, why can do you want to tell us why finally?
Well, maybe I'm
Come on,
maybe I'm going
Mike. Come on,
maybe I'm
Mike.
going back to school for like Earth and space sciences. Going to become a scientist. Yeah, there it is. There's the truth.
Yay! Woo, finally, I tried to get him to say that like 3 different times on the
true.
show, but I'm really proud of Mike. He decided to go back to school for Earth and Science, and he's gonna be an actual scientist. He's going from chemical engineering to scientist. So
Yep.
he's gonna be certified, credentialed. He's gonna be an academic.
That's right, and it's not that we depend on the academic institution itself to do science. Science is a way of thinking, which is why we made this show too, to share this with everybody, and really just to talk about it. It's got to be a discussion.
Yeah,
it's got to be a dialogue.
He's not. Yeah, you're not going to the dark side or anything.
No. If anything, well, we'll see. But water is super special. So the Earth has a lot of water on it, and water is interesting because compared to any other like molecule of that size or liquid or gas of that size, water holds a lot of energy. It can hold a lot of energy, and it can also like exist comfortably in 3 different phases that are all close to the same conditions, right? So water exists as solid, liquid, and vapor in the atmosphere. It also dissolves just about everything. So pretty cool to have an atmosphere with a lot of water in it. Dissolves things. The vast majority of water is in the ocean, which is salt water, of course. And some of these deep ocean currents are cycling on the order of 10 to 20,000 years. Saltwater currents going deep in the ocean, coming back to the surface. So that's a lot slower than the weather we see.
Yeah, I didn't imagine 10 to 20,000 years. That's a long ass time.
Oh yeah. And then land, of course, is made out of minerals and metals. The surface of the Earth is rich in silicates, aluminum, and iron. Now, when you think about Earth, you think about dirt. You're like, all right, I don't see a lot of aluminum or iron in the dirt. Well, dirt also includes a lot of composted organic matter and a lot of moisture, a lot of water. So, along with the silicates, the sand particles, and then the really tiny metal particles. And of course, both land and sea are floating on top of these big continental plates that make up the crust of the Earth. And below the crust of the Earth, the mantle. And then below that, maybe the core, molten Earth, right?
And that stuff changes very, very slowly too.
Yeah. So last week we showed a video about like recent discoveries with basically ultrasound, I think, imaging through the crust of the Earth to find structures and patterns in the mantle. And they think that the big chunks down there is like what used to be a continent, what used to be on the crust millions of years ago.
Interesting.
Going through slides, talking about the Earth. Well, one ocean's not enough. There's a second ocean covering both the land and the sea. And this ocean is made out of air. It extends up for many, many miles. When you get to the edge of that, we call it outer space. When you get to the end of the second ocean of air, we call it outer space. So it's the air that we breathe. This chart shows the air currents, the global circulation patterns on the planet Earth. And the whole trick to this system is that the Earth is spinning. If the Earth wasn't spinning, things would be really simple. Things would be like really predictable. But you take this whole thing and spin it around, stuff gets wild. But the general idea is that sunlight shines harder at the equator, and it's sort of spread across more land at the poles. So the equator's hotter and the poles aren't. And that heat's going to flow outward towards the poles. And all the movement that heat makes along the way is called weather. Just like you set a hot cup of coffee down on the counter, you know it's not going to just get hotter and draw heat out from the surroundings, right? It's going to cool off naturally, right?
Yeah.
So everybody kind of instinctually knows what's going on. What's the next slide?
Yeah. There's also a tilt. You tilt that Earth, and then other weird stuff happens too.
Oh, I wasn't even going to cover that, but you're right, Dave. Seasonality. The Earth is tilted. It's also not always a constant distance from the sun. That distance varies slightly.
Mm-hmm.
And the sun's output is not always constant. The Earth isn't a perfect sphere. So, yeah, that's where science happens.
Yeah, it also wobbles.
Oh, yeah.
The poles wobble. We'll save that for another when we go over the Younger Dryas.
Well, they wobble.
The bad boy wobbles.
The poles wobble predictably with the precession of the equinoxes.
Yes.
We can observe that, right? But then there's even far out pole theories, like what if the poles ever swapped? Magnetic pole versus rotational pole.
That's something we're actually interested in, though. So if anybody's watching and knows someone or is themselves like knowledgeable about pole shifts, because there's a lot of different stuff going on out there about pole shifts, and we want to know like what's the truth, you know? So, anyway.
I'm especially interested, just briefly, since we're on this topic, Native American. I think there was a Hopi prophecy about pole shifts. There's a lot of, I think the Inuit tribes have sort of mythology legacy about pole shifting of planet Earth. So very interesting to learn the global history from different cultures about that topic.
Yeah, I had no idea, but you know that makes sense that because typically different cultures around the world share similar myths and stuff. So yeah, cool.
Anyhow, this ocean of air, what is it actually made of? Well, you might be surprised to know the air you breathe is mostly nitrogen. Or maybe you know that maybe you knew that. It's only about 21% oxygen. For the life of me, I could never remember that it was argon in third place. Who knows? A noble gas got into third place. Congratulations, Argon. You're in third place. You're the third most.
I wouldn't have got that Jeopardy question.
Heck no. Everyone remembers N2 and O2. But anyhow, water vapor is highly variable, of course, depending on whether you're over land or sea, depending on the time of year, all that good stuff. And then coming in at number 5, the first of the infamous GHGs, the greenhouse gases, is CO2. Now, I want to point something out. N2 and O2 make up 99% of the air. The rest of it is all in that last percent. So we're talking less than 1% of argon. The percent of H2O, of course, is variable. If it's raining, you're talking 3 to 5% like in the air. Then down here to CO2 and below, parts per million, parts per billion, parts per trillion. How do you think we measure these things? How do you count parts in a trillion? I'm amazed that we can analyze and measure this at that resolution.
Yeah, I had no idea. I mean, I'm sure I learned that in school at some point, but then it was like a slide and gone.
Yeah, but this is the slide and it's back. The slide is back and better than ever.
It is back and better than ever.
Other notable species of the air are ozone, O3 here on the right. It's down in the parts per billion. And all these fancy looking chemical names, that's those chlorofluorocarbons and refrigerants that it was pretty slick when we invented refrigerators a minute ago, you know. But then we figured out that they're not too good for the air. So we quit using them.
That's why they said the dinosaurs died out, eh? They didn't have fridges.
Well, they had too many fridges. They had global warming. That's it. People don't realize the dinos had drive-ins and stuff. It was like the Flintstones, you know.
Yes.
Next slide.
If only they had a fridge.
Vertical structure of the atmosphere. I remember seeing this chart for the first time when I was a little kid and just thinking, wow, this looks wild. I want to know what's going on with all this. And here's the main thing. You generally think that as you go further up in altitude, the air cools off. Well, that's true in the troposphere. Above that, things start to change. And it turns out that ozone I mentioned on the last slide is the primary driver for this temperature inversion that we see. We have 4 layers to the air atmosphere on planet Earth. And if it wasn't for ozone, we would pretty much just have 2. So relatively stable air at each of these pauses. There's 3 different pauses. It creates a barrier to vertical mixing. The top layer is the thermosphere, which is the edge of space. Turns out there's actually about 1 kilometer in between every air molecule at this distance. So what we're calling air kind of silly, kind of ridiculous. But there's a high variation in temperatures, and this is where auroras occur as well. Now, aurora is not an air phenomena. Aurora is a magnetic phenomena where excited particles within the Earth's magnetosphere are basically lighting up because of the sun's energy. The sun lights them up. Moving down to the next area, the mesosphere, temperature starts increasing here because of ozone. So basically, oxygen, it likes to be O2, which is two oxygen molecules hanging out together, two oxygen atoms hanging out together as a molecule. But up there, when that sunlight hits it, especially the ultraviolet radiation really gets to that oxygen and splits them apart. And then you got two oxygen atoms flying around. And sometimes instead of coming back together as two, they come back together as three. And that's called ozone. So ozone starts happening up there. And then it's a self-sustaining process for a little while. But once the ozone concentration gets high enough, it starts blocking all the UV. So there's a peak of ozone concentration around 25 miles altitude. And at that point, there's enough ozone being generated by the UV light that it's blocking the rest of the UV light further down. That's how ozone protects us. Basically, oxygen gets turned into ozone, and the ozone blocks the rest of the UV light down here at the surface.
You're younger than me, but do you remember like in the 90s they would show that like picture of the Earth like with a Band-Aid on it, and there was a supposed hole in the ozone layer due to aerosol, like anything supposedly it was aerosol's fault?
Yes.
Do you remember that?
In Antarctica. And that's true. That was measured by the same oops. Oh, that was the wrong button. There we go. In the same way that we know there's all these tiny amounts, they could measure that across the globe, and they knew that there was a hole down in Antarctica. And that's when they also figured out that these chlorinated fluorocarbons down here in the parts per trillion, it turns out they lift the weight of tens of thousands of CO2, every one of them that flies up there.
I did look something up quick. Could I make a comment quick? I was curious, like just for some context, like what layer of the atmosphere do planes fly in? Right. So thank you, Grok. Yep. I don't know if you were going to say this or not, but the cruising altitude for most commercial flights is 30 to 40,000 feet, which is the upper end of the troposphere.
Yes.
So I don't know if you were going to go there, but I was wondering myself.
That's a great question. And it's good to put this in perspective. It's kind of why I started with the outer layers first. There ain't a whole lot going on in these outer layers, so we're going to talk about them briefly. Ozone is basically this bend to the right in the red line at the stratopause. That's the presence of ozone. That's why the ozone makes it happen. Other than that, the stratosphere is pretty boring. The stratosphere is stratified. The air is happy because it's cooling off it's warming up as it goes up. Anyhow, troposphere, the bottom layer, this is where all the weather happens. This is where 85% of the mass of the atmosphere is at, and pretty much all the water vapor. In the troposphere, you get a lot of irregular activity because the Earth is spinning fast. The air is sitting on top of it. There's imbalances in the water concentration. There's imbalances in the temperature and the pressure. The sun shining more at the equator, so all that energy wants to move north or south poleward. And so the troposphere is an interesting area. This is what I was basically saying. The sun shines more at the equator, meaning that in the equatorial region, you got an imbalance. There's more heat that can radiate out. So during the day, the sun heats up the whole face of the Earth. And during the night, the Earth radiates infrared energy out the back as heat. That's what heat is. To cool itself off before it gets back around to the sun the next day, right? Well, the poles can do more than enough, but the equator area, it's got to move some of that heat outward through the atmosphere and through the oceans. And all that energy moving north to south is what makes weather happen along the way.
Wild.
Here's a slide about the greenhouse effect, and basically what I was saying about on the nighttime side of the Earth, all the heat that it absorbed during the day is going to radiate back out into outer space, except all that water vapor, CO2, all the other air in the atmosphere, clouds, it's going to trap some of that heat radiating back and bounce it back to the Earth. So that's where you get these little zigzags, re-radiated back to surface, and then some is reflected back to space. I've never met a farmer that didn't believe in greenhouses. You know what I'm saying? Moving onward. So the Earth is always spinning. And that means the air is spinning on top of it. And the air is going to drag the water that's beneath the air along with it. And the fact that the Earth is spinning, it gives this twisting motion to everything. It's called a Coriolis effect. It's why hurricanes turn one way in the northern hemisphere and the other in the southern, and why your drains flow clockwise or counterclockwise in the other area.
So that always weirded me out. Like, is it like you just hop over a line and it changes directions? Or I know that might sound stupid, but like, is there a tipping point?
Yes, and it's the equator. But you're absolutely right, and it's because like mathematically you could get rid of one side or the other and just mirror it, and it's just the mirroring. It's like a left-handed, right-handed thing.
That makes sense. That makes more sense in my head now. I just always like wanted. I actually learned about that off an episode of The Simpsons where they went to Australia, and that's the first thing they did.
The Simpsons, it was one of those under the radar informative shows, I think, and then also prophetic. There's a whole, if you want to go down a rabbit hole about Simpsons prophecies, they prophesied a lot of stuff.
They even prophesized Donald Trump winning the presidency.
Yeah, all sorts of bizarre things. I'm glad we took that detour on this slide. I feel like that's what we needed, actually.
Totally.
So this twisting effect, it gets pretty wild because let's say you got the wind blowing one way on the surface of the ocean. That wind is twisting because the Earth is spinning, and the water underneath it is going to twist as well. And if you go far down enough into the ocean, you find water that's flowing the opposite way in the deep currents as it is on the surface because of the twisting motion of the Earth. And this is how we get warm water and cold water currents, which transfer energy away from the equator and towards the poles. This affects weather around the globe. Little Vibe.
What's up, Little Vibe? He might be popping on the show at some point too. So he's a musician. I think he's in the same area we are in the Georgia area, but I could have made that up. But yeah, we don't know if Rebirth is showing up. He was going to, but I think something came up. But he may or may not be here. So let's see.
I've been digging the bumper tracks on Tyrone's channel, and I know that's Little Vibe music. He's been shouting it out. He showed your Spotify page. Cool stuff. I totally dig.
Yeah, so I was going to play one of his songs to open our live stream on when we live streamed during the UAP or the what was it, the News Nation UAP thing, but because he's in Oklahoma. Shout out ATL. Yeah, Little Vibes in Oklahoma, but the song was perfect because it was called Invasion, and it's a total banger, but I forgot to play it because we had that like snafu where we couldn't figure out what stream to use. So anyway, we'll get you on here, and we'll get your music on here too, my man. Thanks for joining the show.
Whoop whoop. Little Vibe, just like the Little Nino. El Nino is the best example of one of these atmospheric oceanic connections that has far-reaching effects for weather across the globe. They're called teleconnections, meaning connections from afar. And it turns out all the oceans and the air currents sort of have these modes that they fluctuate in and out of. Some of the periods might be 6 months, 2 years. Some of them might be 10, 20 years, or even longer. This is just an example. So basically you got this ocean climate system. It's always oscillating and having far-reaching effects.
We got 61 total viewers right now. So if you're watching and you're new to the show, say hi in the comments. And if you like your content, please subscribe on YouTube or wherever you want.
Yeah, for real. And really, me and Dave are just two people that are curious about the climate and curious about the history of the planet Earth, which is why we want to find this stuff out and share it with you. We're going to share it with you as fast as we find it out, you know?
Yeah, this is this show really is an expression of Mike and I's interests, shared interests, and shared passions. So we hope you guys enjoy it.
We're getting to the end of my slides. This is just a quick history of the temp on planet Earth for about 1,000,000 years. Take home message.
What?
It's been colder than this. It's been hotter than this. It goes back and forth all the time. How long have we been here? What do we remember?
Yeah, yeah, and humans have like very short memories, because we only live 80 years, 100 years.
Now,
It's hard for us to conceptualize the planet 500 years ago, or 1,000 years ago, or God forbid, 1,000,000 years ago.
there does seem to be some like kind of regular behavior over 1,000,000 years. Just looking for the slide.
Yeah.
Let's zoom in a little further into some more recent history that maybe we can remember. Maybe this is in the memory from our ancestors.
I think it probably is. I think if Ricardo was watching, he would agree.
So just to phase things in, we've been doing an overview of the global climate. The last two slides have been a temperature history of the Earth. Previous slide went over the last 1,000,000 years temperature history. Now we're looking at the past 15 to 17,000 years, the end of the last ice age, a period known as the Younger Dryas. And did you know what a Younger Dryas even was, Dave? Did you know what a Dryas was?
No, but I know what a younger wet ass was. I don't know where I stole that from. Oh yeah, I know where I stole that from. Hecklefish from the Y-Files. Yeah, shout out Hecklefish.
I need to catch up on the last couple of Y-Files episodes. It's been a couple weeks since I watched them. It's a great show.
Hey, we're big fans of the Y-Files in the multiverse. He tells all the best ancient stories about myths, legends, ancient history, conspiracy theories, and he's an amazing storyteller. So check out Y-Files. He deserves it.
Absolutely. Anyhow, Younger Dryas is a type of flower. And the Younger Dryas, I guess it was the newer of those particular types of flowers that archaeologists found when they were digging up these core samples, earth samples. I guess that's why they named it that. But here's the story. So the last ice age was pretty much over about 14,000 years ago. You can see from the temperature profile that it's basically as warm, if not a hair warmer than it is today. And then all of a sudden things went back into full-blown ice age territory for what, about 1,300 years?
Yeah. That's not normal though, right? That's not typical.
No, and then when we go into more detail on this, I'll show a slide that includes the sea level. Typically, when the Earth warms up, ice melts, the sea level goes up. When the Earth cools off, more ice freezes at the poles, and the sea level goes down. Well, in this particular case, the global temperature plunged rapidly, and the sea level also rose at the same time, which is pretty unusual. And now we're talking about 14,000 years ago. This is in the memories of our ancestors. We're descendants of people that witnessed this stuff.
Yeah. And, the more and more proof is coming out through, passed down legends that are just mirroring other ones from all over the planet. Also just stellar alignments of ancient buildings and ancient architecture and stuff that shows that literally show dates and things like that show that they knew about the Younger Dryas. There's all kinds of stuff coming out. So
it's cool that
keep looking. Sorry, I just wanted to mention Jason Quitt we had on a few weeks ago. Check out his work because he really goes deep in all the celestial alignments and celestial measurements in both artifacts and ancient drawings, ancient buildings. He's found some pretty incredible correlations between this stuff. So check out his work, Jason Quitt, crystalsun.com.
Absolutely. I forget what I was going to say at the end of this slide, but that was pretty much the end of it. That's what we got to find out. That's what we're here for. And last but not least, What is science anyway? All right, so I'm going to become a scientist. Science is a method that anyone can engage in. Science is really a way of thinking. It's how you interpret information about your surroundings. It has nothing to do with a certain class of people or an institution that's going to tell you what to think or what to believe. So think for yourself and question authority. That's how you be a scientist. And that's my slides.
And you need a lab coat too. You need a lab coat.
I got one back in the closet. I'll dust it off. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah, science is great. It has its place. My feelings is that if you hear if you hear the words "trust the science," and this is not in relation to anything that has happened any time recently, just generally speaking, if someone says "trust the science," follow the science, don't worry, the science has it all figured out. You I'm just going to say that that's the opposite of science.
Literally the opposite of scientific thinking is blindly placing faith in experts from institutions.
Yeah, especially institutions that get paid for making shit up.
The bigger the institution is and the longer that it's been around, the more suspicious it is.
Totally agree.
Okie dokie.
But man, that was cool, man.
Yeah. Well, thanks. That's what I was mainly studying for a midterm this week instead of preparing for a show. So I figured, hey, I'll put it in the slides and just rehash it on the show since that's all I got in here right now.
So you were doing both at the same time.
That's
I like it, double dipping. That's pretty sick. And I look forward to more of that on the show. I was looking forward to Mike starting school and all this stuff because I think it's really going to add a lot of value to the show and to the knowledge base of Mike and Dave's Multiverse. So there we go.
We'll resume with the current weather and current events next week.
Yeah. Let's get into. You want to get into some mounds? You want to do some mounds?
Let's talk about ancient American cultures.
Okay. It's a funny story. Is that when Mike and I first started this channel, we decided we were going to interview interesting people and we were going to visit archaeological sites, any archaeological sites. We didn't care what, and we just were picking the closest ones to us, right? And I had known that there was some mound sites in the area. I'd visited a couple before. And so we first started the channel. We had our X going and our YouTube going and our Facebook going. And I made a comment on X where I said something along the line. It was to Dr. Greg Little, one of his posts. So somewhere along the lines of Dr. Greg Little. We also interviewed him. He's the man. Look forward to his. That guy is a computer. He's got a computer in his brain about mounds. It's wild. But I commented on one of his pictures because he's always posting different things about Native American mounds, and I said Mike and I are planning on visiting all the ones in our area, and he probably thought that was cute because he was like, "You're planning to visit all of them?" And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "That's going to be a lot of mounds." And boy, I had no idea.
3,462. By the way, I literally wrote an encyclopedia of these mounds. Yes, that's Dr. Little.
Yeah, it's more. And to be honest, it's way more than 3,462. I mean, yeah. He literally. I don't want to give it please watch his episode when it comes out in a couple of weeks. But this guy has a manual this big that has literally. I want to say hundreds of thousands of mound sites. I was looking at one part of it. One part of it said there was over 10,000 Native American mounds along the Mississippi River in Iowa. That's crazy, just in that one area. I mean, it makes sense along the river. But anyway, before that ever happened, Mike and I did our level 1 mission to our first ever mound site in the area called Kolomoki Mounds. And I'm going to pull up some slides. Hopefully I'm saying that right, Kolomoki. Let's go ahead and share screen. No, I don't need to share screen. You can see that, right?
Yes,
Mike?
It's on the slides. That's right. In fact, we're hidden.
Cool. Can you unhide us, or how do I do that? Just like that?
There we go.
Boom. There we go. Cool. All right, cool. So yeah, Multiverse Media presents Adventures with Mike and Dave. We, like I said, did this level 1 quest, we called it, and the goal of the mission was to, our producer Brittany had given us a shot list, and we were supposed to get certain shots from certain places, a certain amount of selfies, certain amount of like us showing the different mounds to scale, this and that. I'm just going to say that we barely passed our first our first mission, but we made it. We did make it happen, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit of that. So on the left there, that's Mike and I in front of the visitor center. The middle is the top of the centerpiece, the temple mound, which is Mound A. On the right is Mike looking at the map, which I'm going to show later because the map was a big part of the mission complications. So I just want to tell you a little bit about Kolomoki State Park. It's located in southwestern Georgia, USA. It's renowned for its significant archaeological site featuring mounds built by the Swift Creek and Weedon Island cultures between 350 and 750 AD. The park encompasses over 1,200 acres, offering hiking trails, a museum with Native American artifacts, camping facilities, fishing and picnic areas. The centerpiece is the largest mound, known as Mound E. It's not Mound E, it's Mound A. That's Grok who messed that up. It stands about 57 feet high and covers nearly 2 acres at its base. We learned from Dr. Little that it was actually over 60 feet. I think he said 66 feet at one time. But these mounds, they grow over, they get excavated, different things happen.
A bunch of them were destroyed by settlers. Too bad, so sad.
Yeah, by settlers. Yeah, by roads, construction sites, bridges, different things like that. These are just a couple pictures of some of the displays inside the museum. All right, so here's Kolomoki Mounds State Park map. It seems pretty straightforward, but Mike and I were having issues. So if you look, I don't know if you look into the, I guess, top-ish left, almost to the top and on the left, you can see Mound A, B, C, D, and then along the roads, H, G, F, and E. A is the centerpiece. Okay, it's giant mound. We couldn't find one of the mounds, and the way this map is
the one
drawn
that was
up,
missing.
C's the one that was missing, but the way this map is drawn out, it makes it look like A is the one that's missing. Okay, so we went and visited all the mounds, starting with E, which is actually the museum, and I'm going to tell you about that in a second. And we worked our way down the road. We got to B, and we looked across, and we were like, that has to be A, right? The big one. That has to be C, the big one, just because of the way it was oriented, right? And we're like, okay. And the way it was oriented to Mound D as well. So we spent probably 30 minutes looking for Mound, what we thought was A. And that's actually even, I'm going to go back a little bit. That's even Mike looking at this picture. This is us after walking around.
To be clear, I was posing, pretending to look at the map. I may have not read the map perfectly in that moment.
No, and neither of us were. I'm just going to say, though, that state park maps typically suck, but I'm also going to say that I'm terrible with maps. But I'm blame the map.
Can I just say that the other class I've taken from climate change is actually cartography, cartographics, like modern map making. So
nice.
I'll be back in a future episode with a professional opinion on all this map stuff.
Very cool. When I was in the military, I used to have to rely on other people. I'd be useful in other ways, and I would follow them around during land navigation because, like, if they needed me to climb a tree and look for a terrain feature, I'd do that. But like, I had no idea how to read a map, and I still really don't. I'm just going to be honest.
We did. From looking at this map, we walked around the big mound twice looking for a little mound that it turned out was overgrown and hidden in the woods, and it was kind of poorly reflected on the map. So that's what it amounted to.
Yes, but I'm going to tell a funny story about that towards the end of the slides.
Sorry.
That culminates. That's okay. It culminates in a funny moment. So I wanted to show some Kolomoki mound scales. I'm just going to read through the different mounds, and then I'm going to show a couple of videos just quickly so that we can see to scale what some of these mounds are in relation to Mike and I. But Mound A is the Temple Mound, largest mound at Kolomoki, approximately 56 feet high, 325 by 200 feet at its base, with the southern half being about 3 feet higher, likely serving as a temple platform. And we did notice that when we were up there. One side was a little bit higher. It was on a little bit of a slant. And it was beautiful up there. You could see, and we'll show you some pictures here in a second, but you could see the whole complex from there. It's just an incredible sight. Mound B, a smaller dome-shaped mound. Specific dimensions aren't detailed, but it's described as one of the smaller mounds flanking Mound A. Is that the one we missed, or was it C? No, it was C.
It was
so. Similarly, another small kind of not very impressive, for lack of a better word, off the top of my head, mound, Mound D is what's called a conical burial mound. Brittany, can you look that up for me? I don't know what a conical burial mound is off the top of my head, but it rises about 20 feet, and you can see it from the basically straight out from the top of Mound A. It was constructed in several stages, starting from a square platform about 6 feet. I don't know how they know that, but I'll find out. There's also Mound D. It's primarily known for its archaeological significance rather than its scale. It's part of the museum's display, where an excavation site is known as archaeologists left it. I have a story about that coming up, though, so hang on to that. The Mound E is a museum, but it
was a museum.
We'll find out. Yeah, it was a museum. A conical burial mound is a mound of earth that was built to bury people. Yeah, so there we go. Thank you, Brittany. One of the Mound F, one of the smaller flat top mounds used probably for ceremonial purposes. Specific dimensions aren't provided, but it's noted for its alignment with astronomical events like the summer solstice. So that's something you're going to see at virtually every Native American site, virtually every ancient site. You're going to see linings with summer solstice, with equinox. You're going to see this stuff everywhere.
It's one of the main hashtags for our channel. Hashtag archaeoastronomy.
Yes. Mound G is a weird one. Mound G is a small flat top mound, but it's privately owned for some reason. I couldn't find a lot of information on that, except that it's privately owned because it literally has some European people buried on top of it. Their gravestones are on top of it. It's a family of people. Brittany, if you would do me a favor and look up Mound G, Kolomoki mound site, graves. I just wanted to show a picture of that. I just forgot to pull it up. But yeah, it's weird. And one of the graves actually has a Freemason symbol.
I was going to say, is that the one that we definitely took a little clip of that?
We did. We have a short on YouTube. Maybe we can pull that up and show it. If you want to do that in the background, Mike, that'd be cool.
If that's easier.
Show that at the end. Then. Well, what I want to do actually is show these videos that I have on the slide. So let's go ahead and show the first one.
Okay, in that case, I have these videos pulled up. I think I'm going to switch scenes before I screen share. That way you don't lose these slides. I'm going to click welcome and screen share.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, good call. Yeah, I had these loaded up on the Restream. I was supposed to on PowerPoint, I was able to play the videos directly from PowerPoint, but when I transferred it to Restream, it wouldn't let me. Make sure it's muted.
1 minute clip.
Yeah. So yeah, this is that's the main one, right? Mound A, and this is just me talking. Just really quick clips, just to give you guys an idea of the size of the mound compared to me. What's funny about this is Mike and I just practicing making videos. Yeah. So I'm talking about things I would say in videos we would make. But we probably walked around the back side of that bad boy 3-4 different times. What do you think, Mike?
And I'm trying to remember this. It was secretly hot. It was kind of like today. This was what, in November or whatever. And
It was in
yeah,
November. Yeah.
it was secretly really hot during this. I remember I was scorching. I was just sweating profusely while we were walking around this.
Yeah. So here's me like pretending, telling Mike, stand here and I'm going to say this thing and yada, yada, yada. But you can go ahead and go to the next
clip.
one.
All right.
Yeah. I'll show you about 5 or 6 clips from Kolomoki, just short ones. And again, this is our level 1 attempt at doing this. I'm going to talk about our level 2 that
3,
I'm
2,
going to
1.
show you guys next. Oh, yeah.
You-
So this is just me walking across the compound. Mike's filming me from the steps of Mound A, and that's Mound D across there. I just wanted you guys to see. How big the field was and how far it was from one to the other. You can go ahead and change.
The really slick videos of this stuff is like you have to speed up the footage, or the next phase up is getting a drone to get high resolution footage and then speeding the drone footage up even.
Right. Yeah. And this is us on the other side of Mound A, looking for that lost mound we couldn't find that I'm going to get back to. But yeah, we were just really, this is literally our first time doing anything like this, and we had done maybe 1 or 2 live streams. We hadn't had a guest yet.
Yep.
And we're just like having fun. We leveled up a little bit at the next site we went to, which I'm going to show you guys next week. But anyway, you can move it around to the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to show the back side of that mound. Hopefully I got a clip of you. I think I got at least one.
And 3, 2, 1,
There
go.
we go. Yeah, so this is Mike walking from the road. There's the Temple Mound on the right and Mound D straight ahead. And we really just wanted to be able to show, how big the complex was and how well taken care of it is. Actually, they take really good care of this place, yeah, completely flat back there. Yeah, totally. It probably takes a good 5 minutes to walk across that field. What do you say? Or 3 minutes, 3, 4, 5 minutes, something like that?
Yes, and that's what I realized. We've probably been spoiled with sped up footage and drone footage from on various YouTube channels. It's no joke when you're walking around this stuff. I mean, it takes every minute that it takes. It also takes when you're rolling the camera.
Yeah, exactly. And so we plan on getting way better at this stuff. Yeah. This is Mike walking up. That way we can see the top of Temple Mound, with the view from the top. Absolutely gorgeous. Flat.
So that was a really good. It shows the smaller mound in the distance. This is the top of the Temple Mound.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. And yeah, it's quite the workout going up and down those those stairs all day, especially when it's a little bit hot.
Yeah. We're on to the last clip.
How many more we got? This is the last one? Okay, good, great. Yeah, and it's similar clip, just the backside. I'm going to show a few pictures. Actually, that looks like the same clip. So yeah, you can go ahead and scratch that.
This was a great idea to show these clips because it was rough, raw footage. This was our first attempt at taking raw footage of a historical site. So it may not turn into a full-blown IMAX documentary production, but we're sharing the clips with you here today. And when we go back here, or definitely when we go to other new sites, we'll be even better at taking good pictures and videos.
Yeah, we plan to follow Brittany's advice a lot better, or her shot list a lot better. The funny part is like we did look at the shot list like right before we set out, and we're like, yeah, Brittany's gonna love this. And then I don't know what happened, but we missed a bunch of stuff.
And that was 6 clips. We took a little more than that. There were some times where we would try to like set the phone camera on a tripod, hit record, and then run around and walk up, and then you got to run back and delete half the footage. Anyone that I guess has ever fooled with any of this, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah. And so if you like our content and you want us to produce better content, buy us a drone, donate $1 on our buy me a coffee website. We're eventually going to invest in some better equipment this year. But yeah, anything helps. Anything helps. All right, yeah, those were the videos. So I wanted to show this museum notice for NAGPRA, the Native American Grave Protection and Repatriation Act. This is something you're going to see, I think, in all of North America. And I don't know if Canada has a different version of it. If you could look that up, Brittany, that'd be cool. But essentially, the Native American Grave Protection Repatriation Act, NAGPRA, is a federal law enacted in 1990 that mandates the return of Native American cultural items, including human remains, funerary objects, sacred objects, and objects of cultural patrimony, to lineal descendants, Indian tribes, and Native Hawaiian organizations. It applies to federal agencies and institutions receiving federal funds, requiring them to inventory and summarize their collections, consult with Native groups, and facilitate repatriation. NAGPRA also protects Native American burial sites on the federal and tribal lands. Brittany said, Canada does not have a federal law similar to the Native American Grave Protection Repatriation. Instead, repatriation efforts in Canada are handled on a case-by-case basis. That's interesting. But yeah, so you're gonna see this all across the U.S. We've run into it twice now,
and it was different.
It was different each time. When we first walked into the museum here, they told us about it, and essentially that's Mound E is basically the museum is built into, and you used to be able to go in. At one point, they actually had artifacts and skeletons in there. Eventually, they removed that stuff, and it was replicas, correct? Eventually they're not even doing that because it's just generally not, it's not polite.
I think that overall NAGPRA is trying to do the right thing. They're doing the right thing because it needs to be up to the tribes to decide whether or not, things need to be available to the public. But what we learned was it also kind of creates a red tape situation where if there's not a consensus as to which tribe is the heir of a particular site, like in Kolomoki, there was basically the tribes couldn't decide who had that one. Then you get caught in limbo and you're in purgatory and there's no display because there's no decision. So there's something to be careful about there.
Yeah, for sure. Because now there's this site that like you can't go in, nobody has access to, the artifacts aren't being shown to anyone. And I'm definitely not in support of like leaving some skeletons in there for you to take your like third grade class through or whatever, which is what they used to do, to be honest. It'd be nice to find some lineage and some ownership of that stuff, and maybe some of it they still want to share and we could see. But at that particular museum, there wasn't a whole lot to look at because that was the museum feature. So just wanted to do a little lesson on NAGPRA there. This is about the Ottawa Indian Mounds Historic Site, which is the next one we went to. I'm not going to show you guys anything from that. Man, that's actually all messed up. It doesn't let you do an and sign. But Leslie LaPlatte she works as a, I don't know if they call them rangers or whatever at Ottawa Park. She wrote a paper essentially about this for her, what is it called? Her master's thesis. Yep. Yeah, nice young lady sent us her master's thesis, gave us a lot of information. But essentially, she just talks about it in here. Same thing we were just talking about, objects, unique objects and different things from these sites being, cared for and like organized through NAGPRA to get to be used by the right people. And so I just wanted to give her a little shout out, and we're going to be showing more of her stuff next week. Yep. This is a picture I found online of what it used to look like. Those are not skeletons. This is inside of Mound E in Kolomoki. Those aren't real skeletons, but that's what it used to look like. That you would have been able to see that, 30 years ago or something. But here's some more pictures from Kolomoki. Just some, they have some turtles that live on the field, which we got to say hi to. Actually, the lady came running out and was like, I'm surprised she came back out to talk to us because I think we weirded her out. And I'm officially going to tell that story. When we came back, I totally threw Mike under the bus by accident because we walked in and the first thing Mike did was go to the restroom. And the first thing I did was say, hey, yeah, we had a great time out there, but I totally couldn't find Mound A. And the lady looks at me like I'm the biggest dumbass in the world. And she's like, are you kidding? You're kidding, right? Like literally, like that's how like flabbergasted she was. Like, I was like, no, we were like looking everywhere. We walked around looking everywhere. She's like, you have to be kidding. And I was like, no, look. And I was like pointing at this shitty map. And she's like, no, you're talking about C. It's around the back. It's hard to see. I don't know how you guys screwed that up. And I was like, okay. And then Mike comes out of the bathroom, and then I go right back in, and I go into the bathroom, and I leave Mike there. And the plan was, as we were going in, was for Mike to try to smooth talk these ladies into giving us an interview. And so as soon as I made us look like complete jackasses, Mike comes out of the restroom, and I go into the restroom, and then Mike starts up a conversation like, hey, we're Mike and Dave from Mike and Dave's Multiverse. It's a couple of jackasses who can't find the temple.
The biggest hill on the map.
the giant one. Yeah.
Well, we did find it. We were just confused about what it was called, and we were looking for the other one.
Totally. But I was in there using the restroom just thinking, I'm sorry, Mike. I'm going to have to apologize to him when I get out.
Well, I halfway figured that might have happened. So I was kind of thinking about it when I walked in.
Yeah.
Great.
I got some cool shots of a sunbeam coming over Mountain D. I thought it was a neat little shot. On the right there, love conquers hate every single time. That's a gentleman that lives near Mike's house that we walked by when we were on that trip. What do you know about him?
Thanks for including that. I'm so glad you included that. And first, okay, we didn't get the greatest video clips of all time, but we got a couple cool pictures of sunbeams. So it's a little credit for that. It was our first attempt. And then
and turtles. And a butterfly.
And Mr. Wayne. Wayne is a local hobo that stays, a few blocks from where I live, and I consider him my neighbor. I really love him, and I love when the local hot dog stand. Sometimes I'll give him a little job and pay him to stand out. Normally, there's a panhandler on that street corner normally there's a panhandler on that street corner, but I love it when they pay Wayne to stand out and hold an encouraging sign. And whenever I walk around the street corner right there, it cheers me up. So it's great to see that in the community.
It is, and it was nice to see it that morning. I did, to finish the story though. After I was talking about the turtles. When we left, the lady literally came running out, and she's like, look, there they are. And we're like, what? We freaked us out for a second because we were just about to leave. She's pointing across the field, and there's these two cool turtles that live there. So just wanted to shout out those turtles. I like turtles. You like turtles, Mike?
Turtles are awesome.
Good. And special thanks to Leslie LaPlatte of Etowah State Park and the staff at Kolomoki Park. We didn't get their names. There's a few other pics here. I'm gonna disappear us for a second. Okay, so that's a good shot of the front of the mound.
We're still on the. We might still be on the slideshow.
Say what? What are you saying?
Sorry, we're still on the slideshow, but we're off. Yeah.
We're good? Okay. And just for scale on Mound C and Mound G, you can hopefully you can see one of us standing at the top there. In the bottom right corner, that's the one with the graves. I think Brittany found me a site about that, which I'll pull up in a second. Let's see here. She said scroll all the way to the bottom. So I'm sorry, I'm scrolling all the way to the bottom to find this.
That was actually the first mound that we walked on. It's closer to the entrance of the park.
Yeah, and if you could actually score that short we made quickly of our trip here.
Yeah.
That would be cool too, Mike, if you could pull that up. And yeah, this is what Brittany showed me. This is what Brittany pulled up. There's actually like, I found another site. I Googled something like who is buried on top of the mound at Kolomoki, and it actually gave me the name of some family. But I'm getting Mike to pull up the video because Mercer, Brittany says it shows Mercer family on the next page. So that's cool. Good. Yeah, Mercer family on the next week. Thank goodness we have Brittany. If anybody's watching, say hi to Brittany in the chat. She does a lot of behind the scenes work for us, and she totally crushes it. She keeps us honest. She's our Jamie.
Ready to screen share?
Yeah, go for it.
This was actually the first short that Mike and Dave ever made.
All right, here's Mike and Dave. There's Mike. What's up? There's Dave. And we're on our way on our first field trip to Kolomoki Mound Archaeological Park in Georgia. We're going to get some content for you guys there, so stay tuned. Lost my sunglasses, but didn't lose my stick. Mike and Dave are leaving Kolomoki Mounds. Peace out.
So I don't know if you guys caught that.
That was good. I forgot about short. That was a long time ago, you know.
It was in November. Yeah, guys, we've made like 60 videos since then. I remember Mike saying, this is our first YouTube short, and I remember being so proud of it. But yeah, that was our trip to Kolomoki Mounds. I gave a little preview. So next week, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of video and pictures where we leveled up a little bit, got a little bit of better content at Etoa. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit more about Leslie LaPlatte and her paper on that site. I just wanted to show the part where she talks about NAGPRA because it's relevant to both sites today. And I gave her a call actually today at Kolomoki State Park, which doesn't work till Sunday. I just called to be courteous and say, hey, we're going to talk about you tonight and next week. But I left a message for her. So yeah. And so that's it for the Kolomoki trip. So far, so good.
It was great.
Not a bad show. Yeah. I do have, you want to see a rocket launch?
Let's do a rocket launch. We made it over now. We're using hit space. We'll hit this real quick.
Nice. Let's do a quick rocket launch. So I just like teaching about the different types of missions that SpaceX is doing. This is the Maxar 3 mission, meaning this is the third time they've done it, and third and last time. Once I get to the launch portion to show you guys, I will briefly read about what this site is. So just give me a second, unless I lost it. Where's Grok at? Yeah, the Maxar SpaceX mission refers to a series of launches conducted by SpaceX to deploy Maxar technology Worldview Legion satellites into orbit. These things are badass. Here's a detailed overview. Yeah, so the mission involves launching high-resolution imaging satellites for Maxar Intelligence. That sounds sketchy. Epic and sketchy, a division of Maxar Technologies. These satellites are part of a Worldview Legion constellation, which aims to enhance and eventually replace Maxar's existing fleet of Earth observation satellites. The Worldview Legion satellites are designed for high-resolution imaging with capabilities to capture 30-centimeter class resolution images. They are built on Maxar's 500 series satellite bus, which is noted for its versatility and ability to be tailored for various missions. So this is the third one. Maxar 1 launched on May 2nd, 2024 from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Maxar 2 launched on August 15th, 2024. Another pair of Worldview Legion satellites was launched from Cape Canaveral that day. And then this one was launched. These ones were launched from Kennedy Space Station on February 4th. Did I get that done before she took off? No, I didn't. But the launch was a little bit cloudy that day, obviously.
Dave, this is
I did.
important. This is really important, and I've been learning about this in my geospatial information systems class. You think somebody just made all the maps back in 1800 or 1900 or 2000? The Earth, for one thing, the Earth itself is a dynamic system. It's always changing. But another thing is our technology improves. We can get higher resolution information about the Earth. This is super important. How do you think we had Google Maps today that we didn't have 25 years ago? All this stuff has to keep happening.
These satellites, yeah. And you know, some of the things that we were able to see, like the Eyes on Asteroids segment I usually do, and like another site I've been playing around with lately called Sky in the Sky at Night. They're able to create these complex models of the Earth and the solar system and all that stuff, just based up. A lot of it's based off these satellites. So measurements they're taking. But yeah, they sent these bad boys up on February 4th, and that's the end of that. That's the end of that mission. So yeah, giving us SpaceX doing its thing.
Information about the planet we live on. Very cool.
Yeah, and it's the first I've ever heard of one being launched from a Space Force base. It's the first, honestly, Space Force base I've ever heard of.
Keyword.
How about you?
Keyword is heard of, because don't you think this stuff has been existing for probably a few decades now, and they're just not going around and talking about it? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, keyword exactly.
Heard of it.
But
yeah.
Sorry, I'm looking at something else up here on the side.
No,
but,
yeah, I was just going to say our knowledge about the planet we live on is continually improving. Don't think for one moment that we had it all figured out at some arbitrary point in time in the past, and that we just go on and entertain ourselves after that. No, we got to keep learning. You always got to keep learning about the planet.
I think so, because it's ever changing, and it's not static. That's one of the main themes of our show, is that this planet is not static, and it changes all the time. It changes quickly sometimes. It changes very slowly all the time. And there's so many different cycles of change on this planet. And so the more we learn about it, the better.
One thing I don't know how much I mentioned this on my slides, but like the placement of the continents, that affects the ocean currents, which affects the weather patterns, and vice versa. So as the continents have moved over time, weather today is a totally different ballgame where the continents where they're at versus when it was Pangea a really long time ago.
Yeah, when was that anyway? Pangea.
It's too late in the show for a quiz question like that. No quiz questions after the hour mark.
No worries. No worries.
Pangea is a good question.
Well, while you're looking that up, I'm just going to do, because I promised I would. I'm gonna stop sharing this. We're going to do one more Google crazy places on Google Earth session. So I'm going to go ahead and share this.
335 to 200 million years ago, Pangea. That'll be a whole nother episode. So stay tuned.
Yeah, stay tuned. A geologist that studies that kind of stuff and can go back that far would be great to have on the show, wouldn't you?
Indeed.
I'm going to share one Google Earth real quick before we call it a day. I was looking at this earlier. This is called Vostok Island. It's an uninhabited coral island in the Central Pacific Ocean. It's part of a line of islands belonging to Kiribati. Other names for the island include Ann Island, Vostok Island, Levitt's Island, Reaper Island, Vostok Island, or Vostok Island. But let's go ahead and zoom in on this bad boy. This thing is in the middle of nowhere. I wonder if a person has ever been shipwrecked on this thing. Look at this guy.
Tiny.
If you were on a deserted island, Mike, if you were lost on Vostok Island,
All right.
and you only got to bring two
Two
things, what are you bringing? Let's ask the audience if anyone's still watching. I know our boy Ricardo's still watching. You're stuck on Vostok Island, Ricardo. What you can only bring two things. Anything that's classified as a thing. If it's a thing, you can bring it.
All right, if Ricardo brings a PlayStation, I'll bring a mini fridge. So let's team up on this. If we're gonna get stranded.
I'm bringing. I guess I don't know.
Bring a barbecue. Bring a barbecue pit and a bag of charcoal, Dave. That's.
I'm bringing a wheel.
That's what I'm bringing.
Yeah, some hot dogs. That'll keep us going for one night.
And igloo.
Maybe a tent. We're definitely going to need a tent. But I feel like you could build one on the island. Maybe. I mean, you could build one off of materials on the island. When you need something that you can't like a knife would be super handy. A fire starter would be super handy. I don't know.
Okay, getting practical with the suggestions. I see.
I don't know what I just did there, but we're gonna stop sharing, so it stops doing that. And
power source and
Ricardo
fully loaded PC with an X connection. That way we can live tweet and stream the event. Great idea, Ricardo.
Yeah. Ricardo is always on the ball with this stuff. He's always got the best ideas. He's a bit of a visionary, and you know what? I'm going with Ricardo's idea. Power source, fully loaded PC, X connection. That's all you need. Access to all the information. You can talk to all your friends. You can build yourself a shelter. You can forage food. Maybe you can't. We'll have to find out.
Does Amazon Prime deliver out there?
Food.
Imagine you get stranded on an island and you just open your phone and turn on GPS and hit deliver to my location, and then an Amazon drone comes in, and then you get what's that called? HelloFresh. You get the HelloFresh out there.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, I think that's probably you're going to be able to live wherever you want on the earth as long as we don't destroy ourselves first, and you're going to be able to have whatever you want delivered. The technology exists. It's just a matter of humans coordinating themselves in a way where we organize ourselves and can share it in the right way. That's really all it comes down to. The resources are there. The intelligence is there. We just do not communicate well enough at this current time to make something like that happen.
But we're getting better as we make more shows like this.
Ricardo said we could ask for help on X and then play while we wait. Oh yeah, Ricardo. I'm sitting here thinking about staying on the island for 30 years. Ricardo's planning on going home.
Yeah.
Good call, Ricardo. Good call. That's true. We probably don't want to stay on the island. But yeah, that's my my crazy Google Earth site segment for today. Random deserted island in the middle of nowhere. We got anything else,
That
Mike?
was a fun show. I'm gonna go ahead and start playing the outro song, but we got a couple minutes to chitter chatter.
Nice. What do we got coming up?
We got a guest on the live stream next week.
Oh yeah,
His name is Mike as well, isn't it?
Oh yes, Mike Fioro, I think is how you pronounce it. That's going to be a fun one. Let me go ahead and find his Instagram.
Yeah, let's find a 10,
so
20 second clip. Mr. Fiorito. Look forward to meeting you in the next week, if I'm pronouncing your name right.
So he's the author of the book. He's the author of the book UFO Symphonic. So I'm just going to pull up a picture of that instead of his YouTube. But yeah, he combines music with the UAP phenomenon in a really interesting way.
That reminds me of that movie Close Encounters, though, when they had to go to the temple in India to learn the song so they could recite it properly. If you've been paying attention.
Yeah, you can find UFO Symphonic on Amazon, as we mentioned. There's the cover of the book. There's Mr. Mike Fiorito. He'll be on the show next week talking about his book and hanging out for a couple hours. So look forward to that. Who's dropping tomorrow, Mike?
Mr. Yorgos Sakalaris, our friend George. We've been recording interviews and dropping a new interview every Friday. We hope you've been tuned into them. We're having a blast, and we got another one coming out tomorrow. So
yeah. Go ahead. No, you go.
We probably got some posts promoting it. It'll be at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on YouTube, on Spotify, and on Rumble. And we're excited about that.
Yeah, George is a fun guy. He's always good for a laugh, and he's always got interesting stories to tell. And we got a short out about George growing up Greek in New York City, actually in New Jersey. My bad, George. So go ahead and check that out.
I thought I was pretty busy in high school. Nothing compared to what George was dealing with.
No, yeah, he was. Yeah, I'll leave it. I'll leave it at that. But we've got an interview with Mr. R.N. Voigt coming out. An interview with our new friend Susan Radachuk, who is a yoga teacher and a a cancer survivor and a survivor of a congenital heart condition. And now she's a total badass. And so she explained her story to us and told her how yoga and mindfulness helped her, accomplish all of her goals and do everything she ever wanted to in life. And so it's a very interesting story. So look forward to that one dropping. Anything else on deck?
That's about all I can think of for now. As always, we appreciate your viewership. Follow, like, subscribe, comment on our videos. We don't care what platform you're following us on. Find us on YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, all that stuff.
Yeah. And one last thing, Red Feather Relics on X. He's going to be on the show the 28th. We also have some big guests booked. I just don't want to blow it yet, so I'll just leave it at that. We have some big guests booked for new interviews coming up. So we really like doing this, and we really thank you guys. Thank everyone in the chat. Thank you, Ricardo. Thank you, Little Vibe. Thank you, Pat Breeze. Usually my Uncle Don and my mom are in the chat somewhere, but they weren't today. But just if Mike and I could grow this to a place where we're making money, that would be the ideal. But we really just have fun doing this for nothing.
That's right.
So I hope you guys do too. And again, shout out to Brittany. Thank you for all your help. Good night, guys.
Have a fun week. Be kind to everybody. Peace out.